Day 2 of Gino's journey to greatness. So we'll send him around a little bit again and just see if we need to revisit and start from the bottom, or whether he's just going to pick up where he left off. And I don't really ever take that for granted. Some horses will just pick up where they left off. Others start at the bottom every day, and it takes a little bit longer to get the idea across. This guy's pretty smart, so I'm not really expecting that I'm going to have to go all the way back to the bottom. Because the great horses usually go through things once and then they're all pretty cool about it, and they keep it working. So I'm going to hunt him around a little bit when I put the saddle on, and I will check his go, like his go button, and how willing he is to do that in a little bit. So we're on day 2, and we pushed him around a bit yesterday and made sure he was going. And today's a lot more looking to me for what comes next. So a little bit different order. I'm gonna do more of the desensitizing work first. I talked yesterday about giving things a rating. He passed all those tests really well. 9 or 10 out of 10. The bumping here, when I just asked him to step back, he's kind of crowding my space. If he gets a fright and jumps forward, he's going to jump on top of me, and he should always be respectful of my space and stay out of the way. And I politely asked him to move back, and he just stood there and let me lean on the holder. Like, well, I'm not moving my feet. So I bumped on him like, I've already asked you nice, now you got to move. And the first person I saw doing this was off a horse, using a 60-foot lariat rope, which is really cool, but I have nowhere near that level of skill with a rope. The other part I found with a lariat rope, it's a bit stiff, and some horses are a little thin-skinned. If I was a little firm, they get marked up, which isn't a big deal. It was only a little bit of hair, but we still obviously prefer not for them to get marked or hurt or too uncomfortable if we can help it. It's this really soft cotton rope, and again, little tugs. It's more I'm trying to tickle and see what he's going to do about it. And of course we got even less reaction than yesterday. I've had sometimes, a horse will run around and this rope will end up all over the place, and horses turn. If the rope got wrapped around here, and again, it's pretty much just my hand holding it. And a lot of people ask, well, why would you do that? Because I'd like to think if he got caught up in a fence overnight, when I came out the next day, he'd be standing there waiting for me to let him out. So as part of that conditioning, I'm never going to rope his back feet and do that kind of thing. But it's just a little desensitizing, and I like to judge his reaction. And again, this guy is handled, so the problems that are going to rise with him aren't going to be so much fear. It's going to be a little bit of, who's making the decisions at times. So one thing I didn't do yesterday, we did a lot of swinging the lead rope around. And one that I missed that's very common, again, not such a massive deal with this kind of horse, is flipping that around his hip and getting him to move off that pressure. One thing I'll do, and hopefully he'll kind of demonstrate it here at some point when he doesn't move, is I'm not trying to yank him through there like I've seen people do this, and especially like this horse, he kind of knows what to do. It's real tempting to just go, wow, you should listen, and pull him through. So he's got a little problem, and I'm just taking the slack out, but I'm not really pulling. So I'm trying to check his problem solving abilities. I'm not making him turn and get off the rope. I'm just setting him up in a situation and giving him time to think about it, which is another thing I'd like to get happening too, is get it done, but make him feel like he's real smart at the same time. But these ones are flicking the lead rope around is pretty important, because when I get on him, I'm going to do a fair bit of that too. Little subtle things like I was here, I went to walk this way, he anticipated and he kind of barged off there. If I'm leading and he's following, he should have waited a bit longer till I got out here and it was obvious I was walking here, or I got over here and it was obvious I was walking there. It's great that he's thinking and he's anticipating and he's trying to help out, but he can't take over. We chucked the pad all over him yesterday. No reason, and he didn't care about that. So no real reason to think he's going to have a big problem with this today. I tend to grab the back of the saddle and have it in line with my arm. This hand up the front. Look where I'm going. Need to make sure I got his attention here and aim so that lands nice. G'day, thank you so much for watching. If you could like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, that would be awesome. Thank you. Cheers. Not a horse is lacking in confidence. So he comes around to look and he gets a little too inquisitive. I'm more inclined to say, hey, you know, mind your space. If he was more defensive and scared, I'd be like, oh, okay, just don't get too close, and I might have just pushed him back out of the way. My responses are always, you know, different. But they can change on a horse. Like we went through yesterday, we went through periods where he was aggressive and then he was looking for a friend. And I need to be ready to look for that too. I can't just take it, well, he's a little spoiled, so I'm just going to push him around and be tough the whole time. And that's how we build trust. You know, like a lot of people talk about building trust, and I've had people in the past say, oh, your horses really trust you, and I didn't know what I did that was maybe special to create that. But I think always being fair is a big deal. Sometimes I need to be tough, and I'll be tough when it's called for. But when he's looking for a friend, I'm going to be there for him too. Yesterday I do tend to go through a bit of a checklist of stuff. But at the same time, if he's whipping through that checklist, I don't overdo it. I don't want to bore him to death either. And even that's a little moment to show that I care. Like he trotted around, he's obviously relaxed and he chewed, but me coming in and patting him is just enough to reassure him. And it's those little moments, because there's other moments I might have to be slapping him on the butt and being aggressive. But those little moments when, you know, it's a bit quiet and he's looking for a friend and he's just checking my attitude, I need to be watching for those. I put pressure and I wait for him to come forward and make it slack. And there's pressure, he comes forward and makes it slack. I don't try to keep pulling. Statement of my sort of feelings on tight girths and loose girths. Nobody, if they're wearing a backpack, likes it to be loose. Like most backpacks are engineered to, there's a cinch strap and there's a whole bunch of straps, because if that backpack's moving it around, it annoys the hell out of you. And I feel the same thing happens with a saddle. You know, some people really leave them really loose, and it's good they don't have too much restriction, but if it's moving around a lot, that can also be annoying. And especially when that saddle's going forward and back and you're pushing into their withers, I think that's a big deal. And you know, we're potentially hopping on him today, so if I do that, I don't want that saddle moving around too much. you know, if he gets real active. But he's a little different. He doesn't need heaps of reassurance. And I do need to be able to make sure I can push him somewhere. But even compared to yesterday, like we had a big conversation about it all yesterday, with him sort of doing little sideways kicks and getting a bit aggro. And today there's virtually no aggression at all. And he moves down and finds that release, and then I'll go for another step. He got something over there he needs to look at. There we go. And it's another job that, you know, it needs to be done on both sides. Because like we talked yesterday about him facing up in both directions, I want to make sure he's happy to look at me out of both eyes. And if you'll notice before, when he was going to the left, he turned right, wanted to turn, there we go. And he wanted to turn to me around to the right. I just wanted to make sure he's going to turn left as well. Good. He's really preparing long before I get there, which is great. And I am wearing a helmet, and I'd love to wear my cowboy hat and look cool, but you just never ever know. So I do, at least for a while, wear a helmet. And if you question your riding ability at all, you 100% should be wearing a helmet every time you're on a horse. But obviously it's his first ride ever in his life. And I've seen people who are really, really good at starting horses, like insanely good at starting horses. Every now and again, you know, it's a little bit wrong and that horse gets a little upset. You know, I don't want to find out the hard way that maybe I missed something. And then there's times with a horse like him, I think he's going to argue a little, but it's not going to be out of fear. It's just going to be because he's like, really, I got to cart your fat butt around. It's been a long time since I hopped on a horse that bucked out of fear. If I've prepared them well on the ground, I make sure I've prepared them as well as I can, so when I get on, they're not really scared of me. And that's a big deal, because a horse who's bucking out of fear, he puts a lot of effort into it. I think I said yesterday, sometimes I'd spend 2 weeks doing all of this. But this horse has kind of gone through it all, and he's passed all these tests really well, so he doesn't need me to overdo it. So we may as well get on and, you know, get moving and do some more. I wear chinks because I like a little bit more grip, and leather to leather gives me more grip. I already explained why I got a helmet. If I was worried about him, you know, if I thought I'd done everything but I still wasn't 100% sure, and I was concerned, I do wear a safety vest as well, like a proper equine safety vest. I'm very confident this horse isn't going to do anything too major, so we'll hope I'm right on that fact. I never take it for granted I've 100% got everything sorted. G'day. Thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. This video of Gino's journey is meant to be more of a entertainment video, not educational, as in it's not a how-to video. All horses react and start differently. If you are going to attempt to start your own horse, you really need to enlist the help of a seasoned professional, or get a seasoned professional to do your horse for you and get them started. It's not an easy job, and it's not a job to be taken lightly, because this is your horse's introduction to the rest of his riding career, and it's really not to be messed with. So take it for what it is. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to share. And I really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch it, and that you'll keep watching the channel. Thank you very much. Cheers.